Hello, today I will be presenting a lesson from a Year 2 mathematical inquiry project. So here it is. This inquiry project consists of a scenario presented to a class of students in Year 2 and details a principal's request for students to investigate firstly what fruit is the most popular in their class, and second, how many pieces of that fruit the tuck shop would expect to sell to them each month. This inquiry project allows for the 4D, follows the 4D model of inquiry. The lesson presented to you will address the devise phase of the inquiry and will follow the initiate, facilitate, and close lesson structure. The lesson will primarily address the first two listed content descriptors. The other descriptor will be used in conjunction with students' learning. The inquiry assumes that students have some experience with skip counting, adding jumps in the number line, and describing groups. As such, the lesson will encourage students to use these strategies to create, describe, and add equal groups. It's important to note that students don't have any prior experience with multiplication. The Stepping Stones resource from Slate states that students can link their understanding of skip counting and repeated addition to the problem structure of multiplying equal groups best when transitioning from addition to multiplying. As such, this inquiry project focuses on practicing these skills to build a strong foundation for teaching multiplication later in the maths unit. The mathematical understanding goals center around this, so they address grouping and partitioning for more effective counting, as well as adding equal groups, which, as we said, is foundational knowledge for multiplication. In the initiate section, the teacher will reintroduce the scenario. The teacher would then ask these key questions to elicit students' knowledge about what evidence they already have, which would be their information from a frequency table that they completed in the last lesson, and what they also need to know. So using this information, you can then co-construct, a focus question, such as the one listed on the right-hand side. And this illustrates that students will understand that they can use the evidence that they already have and strategies to solve the problem. In the facilitate phase, students will plan and possibly perform preliminary trials of their strategies to solve the problem. Key questions will guide whole class and small group discussion. One question is, if we bought 8 apples in one day, how many apples would we expect to have bought after 2 days or 3? This question should lead students to make connections to strategies such as skip counting and repeated addition. So students will work in groups of 4 to 5 and devise strategies that they might use to work out how many apples they would need for a week or a month. The methods that students use here will be heuristics for problem solving that you can encourage or redirect depending on how effective they are. The work produced will vary and you will see some errors or misconceptions. So we would use this opportunity to give enabling prompts and feedback that can be used in the next lesson or just in the next work. For example, the work here shows a student using a hundreds chart to reach the monthly total of apples. From here, you could ask them what they're counting with those numbers, or ask them to demonstrate how this helped them to get the answer. You would also encourage these students using concrete materials to translate this to number sentences or numerical equations. This example shows a student's work and the next steps that you could hope to see from them after guidance and prompting just below it. So the student has identified 2 groups of apples across 2 days. Feedback you could give to the student includes asking them, did it take long to draw? How could you fix it? And if it was easy to set out this way, or if there was another way that would help them count more efficiently. So that would hopefully be leading into the arrays that you see at the bottom. For examples like this, you would also make sure to refer them back to the inquiry question to make sure that they know how many days they're working towards, and just checking that they have all the information that they require, and if they know what that information is, sussing out what they're actually thinking. Similarly to the last work, again, for this one, you could ask the student about the layout and efficiency of their counting. This student has reached the point where they're counting apples in groups or weeks. For the larger numbers, you could prompt them to use drawings and diagrams again, as well as partitioning that you can see on the left-hand side so that they can share their working and communicate more effectively. Then for the close phase of the lesson, you can use it as a checkpoint to gauge students' progress and allow them to share their work and get some ideas or strategies from their peers that could make their work more efficient again. So the goal of this phase is to get students comfortable sharing their work, realizing the value of their contributions as well as other students. And then you would ask key questions such as the ones that you see on the right-hand side. that would prompt responses that we would hope to see, such as like illustrating students' understanding and the feedback that you can give them to lead the develop phase of their inquiry, which is the next phase. So I've just got my references listed here, and thank you for listening.